Welcome to another Fact or Fiction Friday. I am the guinea pig, Christopher McHale. He is Professor Jason Parsons. If you're like me, who likes a lot of red meat, you've probably heard meat's a killer, can cause cancer, don't eat too much of it. So today the statement is, red meat is bad for you. It causes cancer. Jason, is this true?
Yeah, I can't even not laugh just reading that. I would suppose this statement, red meat is bad for you, is very similar to carbs are bad for you, fat's bad for you, sugar's bad for you. There's a lot of things out there that people try to purport are bad for you. And just like we've done in other videos and talked about many times, we kind of have to unwind this statement and look at what's it made up of, right? So there's some subjective information that deals with the individual and how they feel about red meat. There's also some objective information we're going to talk about that deals with the actual chemistry and physiology of your body, all those types of things also. So let's walk through both of those to really understand this. First of all, we'll talk about the subjective, the individuals. There's some people out there that they don't like red meat. They don't like how it tastes. They don't like it's animals that they're eating. There's vegetarians and vegans and other such tree huggers, as you can see over here. Nothing wrong with that. If you decide you don't like red meat because it goes against your moral values, perfectly acceptable, good reason, do your thing. And you can have a very wonderful nutritional intake and dietary intake without any red meat involved. And that could be other meats too, not just red meat. If you don't want to have chicken or fish or other such things, go for it. That's your thing. Go for it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about red meat is bad for you. Specifically when it says it causes cancer, we're going to look a little bit more into the biochemistry of what's going on here. So in reality, there have been hundreds of studies done on this subject that talks about red meat. And in these studies, they found that people that have had red meat in their diet in various different amounts in these studies have gotten cancer, have died, had other obesity-related diseases and things like that. That's happened. Correlation. They ate red meat, they also had cancer. What has not been shown in even a single study is that red meat causes cancer or kills people, unless maybe you had too big of a bite, didn't chew it, and you choked on it. That might be red meat killing you.
Give you the Heimlich, save your life.
So in reality, the meat by itself is neither good nor bad. And this is very true, just like carbohydrates are neither good nor bad. How much you have, when do you have them, why are you consuming them? Those kinds of questions can really give you the answers as to the value for your body and what's going on. So in those studies we were just talking about, there's of course no correlation equaling causation, because those things they both start with letter C, but they don't mean the same thing. Correlation means they happen at the same time. You ate red meat and you also might have had some kind of disease, cancer, whatever it is. But there's not any causation, meaning red meat caused it to happen. In those same studies, when they asked these questionnaires of people if they've had red meat in their lives, a lot of them also were very sedentary in their lifestyle. They smoked, they drank excessive amounts of alcohol, and they probably didn't have very much in vegetables and fiber intake. So when you start to combine a bunch of bad health qualities all together in one lifestyle for somebody, it's really hard to pick out the thing that caused the problem. And pointing the finger at the red meat is not a very logical or sound empirical way of determining who the bad guy was in that situation. So if we push those studies aside, we start to dig a little bit deeper into it. The reality is, red meat, we'll just say beef in this case here, red meat is considered it has hemoglobin as far as that's concerned, so there's other red meats out there.
Getting a little nerdy there.
I know, we'll stick with just the beef, because that's the main thing we consume that's red meat out there. So a lot of people love to grill their steaks. I know you're a giant football fan, and you like to tailgate, so you guys grill stuff all the time. And when it's football season, it's not right now, but soon enough, buddy, it's going to be okay.
Sorry, still grill at home.
People will barbecue at home. I barbecue in my backyard all the time. It pisses the neighbors off because they're smelling like, can I have some? Like, no, it's mine. You can't have any. Anyway, you can fry them on the stove. You can maybe put them in the broiler in your oven. There's lots of ways to cook red meat. But we'll talk about that broiler and the grilling as the main ones here. When it comes to consuming beef, the problems arise when you process it too much. So we look at like a Slim Jim, right? Those little Slim Jims. You had Slim Jim before? Those are tasty little fellas right there. I like the Tabasco ones myself, right? I just admitted I eat them, it's terrible. In reality, that's a super processed meat. I'm not really sure what's in that. Lips and elbows, I think, might be the main ingredient. There's a lot of nitrates and nitrites inside there, and preservatives, maybe so no bacteria can grow in there. Problem is, with all those preservatives on those packaged meats like that, even some of the processed meats you'll find in the deli section, they'll have all these salts, these nitrates and nitrites in there. Those are made to stop bacterial growth. Problem with that is, if you have bacteria in your gut that's good for you, it helps you to break down foods, and those same things that stop bacteria growing on your Slim Jim out here kind of messes with your system inside there. So we got some negative feedback problems with our bodies if we eat these highly processed meats. So maybe not a good idea to go with those. We're still not looking at cancer and things like that, but it's probably not the best from a health standpoint.
Now the Slim Jim to me looks like more like a sausage.
Yes,
Right.
that's essentially what it
Bunch
is.
of stuff in there. Did the same go with the beef jerky?
So, no, beef jerky is originally beef.
Right.
There's turkey jerky also and fish jerky, which is weird, but
Oh.
whatever. Beef jerky is just beef that's been dehydrated, cooked on a very low temperature for a long period until the water comes out and it's now dry, right? So that's just basically dehydrated beef in this case. So it's very different than the processing that's taken and put into a Slim Jim or other sausages where they will cut it up, right? They'll mince it, they'll add other preservatives and salts and flavorings and artificial colors and all kinds of silly stuff inside there and put it into a sausage casing or whatever Slim Jims are made out of sausages. So it's a different process, but they are processed. Dehydrated beef, known as beef jerky, is way less processed than a Slim Jim or some bologna or a hot dog might be.
So the viewers know beef jerky doesn't have as many added unknowns that other stuff has. It's
Usually-
processed, it's cooked.
Usually just a little bit of flavoring, maybe some smoke flavoring or some
Right,
Worcestershire.
teriyaki.
Teriyaki, exactly. But beef jerky's on the end spectrum of good. It's been closer to when it was alive, least processed. It just sucked the water out, basically. So, good question.
Stay away from Slim Jims,
Yeah.
eat beef jerky.
Yes, yes. Jerky over Slim Jims all day long. Better for you. So, I digress. Back to grilling our steak. So, this is a beautiful picture Chris made up here of the steak. Is that a ribeye? Is that a ribeye?
Looks like
Maybe
it.
a
That's
ribeye.
that's a charcoal Weber grill,
I like
a
it.
portable
I
one.
like it. Okay. Weber's good. So, if you're going to grill yourself a ribeye, which is my favorite way to make a ribeye, my favorite cut actually, lots of marbling in there, fat, the flavor, the good parts of that. It's important to understand that the cooking itself could be a problem if you don't cook these things properly. This is where we can create some of the things that do cause cancer. Carcinogens, you may have heard that term before, carcinogens is something that causes cancer, right, creates it. So the cooking process itself is where the challenge comes in. Not the beef, it's the cooking process that could cause some problems. So let's talk about that a little. First of all, you can see the spectrum of cooking something from raw to rare, medium well done, charred over here. The further you go down the cooked direction, the longer and more you cook something, it's interesting enough, it actually makes it more bioavailable for your body to absorb it. In this raw state, that steak is really hard for your body to process. And we've talked about this before, where the thermic effect of food is very high in protein sources, and all that really means is it's harder for your body to break it down, so it takes energy to digest that food. So the raw steak takes a lot of energy to chew. It's a little tough if you had a raw steak before you were bored, like I don't want to try the steak. It's real difficult to chew it and to digest it in your stomach and to absorb it, so it requires a lot of energy. You get less calories and a less cooked piece of meat. The more you start to cook it down to rare to the medium range, you can actually extract more nutrition out of that steak. That's one of the great things about cooking and why when we invented fire way back in the olden days, it allowed us to proliferate as humans on the earth because we got more nutrition out of our meats. So, if your goal is fat loss, however, you might want to stay closer to the raw end of the spectrum. I'm not saying eat raw beef. If you like that, if you like beef tartare or other things like that, go for it. That's fine. I actually enjoy some beef tataki when I go and have Japanese food, right? But I would say stick in the rare, even medium range, because if you cook even further down here and you get down to well done and charred, shame on you, first of all, you've killed that poor steak. Don't eat beef anymore, you're cut off. That's a bad thing, just culturally. But also, this is where the carcinogens come in. When you cook something too high and too long, it causes that beef and some of the sugars inside of it to chemically change into these big fancy chemical words over here, heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. You can see Chris put some little devil horns on them. Those are the bad guys. Those are the actual bad guys, and meat is bad for you. It's not the meat, it's the chemical changes that occur to some of the things inside the meat that cause these carcinogens to be formed. So, how do we avoid those, right? Well, when you start to cook your beef, some things to pay attention to. We've got 5 things listed up here. This is what you want to watch out for. First of all, the type of meat. This ribeye is a fatty cut of meat. It's got a lot of fat. That's why it tastes so good. It's amazing, right? However, if you're grilling it like Chris and I like to do, some of those fats will render off of there and drip down into the fire, and those fats will cause smoke to come up, and it has a lot of these heterocyclic amines in there. That's bad. That's where the bad guys are, is where those fats hit the fire. So if you're cooking a ribeye on the grill, put a piece of foil out there. Make it so those drippings don't go right in there, causing the flare-ups and the extra charring on the meat.
Or we gotta try those new mats.
Yeah, they have those mats you put in the barbecue. I haven't used one yet, so I hear good things.
Yeah, my uncle got one. They still put the lines in them too. And
Well,
everything.
hopefully the mat doesn't cause cancer also.
Yeah.
So I'll have to
He's gonna look into that one.
I don't know yet. Maybe I'll put that in the notes in the video later. So If you have a lean cut, like say a filet, right, the tenderloin, there's not very much fat in that. You can go and grill that bad dog and not have to worry about it, nothing's gonna drip out of it, you're safe there. So the type of meat matters based on fatty versus lean. Just put a piece of foil underneath it. We're made to tolerate all kinds of horrible stuff happening to us all the time. From ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun trying to cook our cells, to bad things in the air that we live in the environments around us, to sometimes having food that may have been overcooked because you went to a restaurant and then you charred a little on the outside. The issue is not intermittent here and there, once in a while. It's if you do it all the time and you're constantly bombarding your body and you just can't tolerate it. That's when we have negative health issues created, especially things like cancer. So it's not one time you had steak that was charred on outside a little bit, that boom, now you have a tumor. That's just not gonna happen. It's repetition and excess.
So in this statement, we can put a big fat fiction stamp on it.
Yep, yep.
So, hope you enjoyed it this week. I thought this was a good one, especially for all us meat lovers. Don't be scared anymore. I'm Christopher McKell. He's Professor Jason Parsons. Till next week, signing off.